Hi folks, welcome back. So today, new band on the channel, Kassogtha. This request comes in from one of my VIP patrons over on Patreon. If you want to get a request in, that's the place to go. So thanks for the request, Jamie. He's given me a little blurb on this. This is the first time I've ever heard this band. And yeah, this is going to be the extent of my research, because if this is the first time you've watched my channel, I intentionally don't do any research before I listen to anything new, so I can get as much of a completely unbiased opinion on it as possible. But yeah, he's given me a brief blurb on it, so I feel like I should duly read it out. So here's my reaction request for July. The band is Kassogtha, and the song is Eclipse. They are a Swiss, I'm never going to say Swedish. Ooh. They are a Swiss prog death metal band. Kassogtha, by the way, is a creature from H.P. Lovecraft stories, right? Not familiar with this character or creature, but I'm familiar with H.P. Lovecraft. It was the sister and mate of mate. I love that. It was the sister and mate of Cthulhu. Cthulhu's mate. Wasn't there a Cradle of Filth song called Cthulhu Dawn off their Midian album? Also, I seem to recall there was like there's a couple of 80s films, The Unnameable and The Unnameable Returns, which are both Lovecraft-inspired films, from what I remember. I remember some big mad creature. I mean, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that Kassogtha is the creature. I can't remember the name of the unnameable creature, but yeah, I do have it on DVD somewhere. I should really dig it out again, give it another watch. I remember it being pretty entertaining. Anyway, so a pretty freaking metal name for a band, if you ask me. Yep. I look forward to your reaction. Cheers. Okay, cool stuff, Jamie. Thank you. So if you enjoy this video, folks, please do like and subscribe. Comment below. Let me know what you think of the song, and if you're a fan of the band and all that cool stuff. So let's get going. That it? Right. That's class. Was kind of searching in my brain. I was getting sort of vibes of different things, trying to sort of piece them together. The vocals actually, I know it was sort of in the blurb there saying about proggy, definitely progressive, um, and death. I don't know. Most of the vocals kind of put me in the mind of almost like a black metal kind of scream, which is more my bag. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I like the low vocals. You know, Michael Ackerfeld, has the best sort of death metal growl in my opinion. Um, but yeah, the sort of the frequency of the vocals coming through there, I was trying to sort of place it. Um, and also then the clean singing, which sort of came as a bit of a surprise. I think the clean singing kind of put me in mind of sort of 90s, late 90s, early 2000s era Lacuna Coil. Not musically at all now, like, but the actual clean singing vocal styles put me in mind of Christina Scabia. Um, the production on stuff on it, I mean, because it's very detuned and heavy, that kind of firmly plants it in the sort of more modern realm. But actually, the sort of style, the drumming, and the vocals, a lot of it sort of put me in mind of sort of 90s stuff. Even like early In Flames, uh, you know, which are all good things. I just sort of, you do that whenever you hear a new band for the first time. You kind of, your brain's sort of, hmm, trying to sort of detect the influences and what is that? That reminds me of this. That reminds me of that. Also, probably the very first impression I got was because of the sort of surprising chord sequences within it. It really pointed towards there's somebody in this band, at least one of them, that are true classical fans, because so much of the harmony really is coming from classical music, big time. Now, there's different ways about that. Obviously, you could either be into classical piano, you could have played, violin, or you don't even have to be trained in like a sort of traditional classical instrument or whatever. You could just be listening to lots of classical music as you grew up, and it's one of your interests. Or another possibility is listening to bands that have classical, like rock bands that have like classical inspired sort of influences within their music. Early Muse in particular, sort of occurred to me there with the heavy riffs and the sort of harmonic minor scales being used and the sort of dissonances and diminished chords and things like that. But yeah, even like what do you call Exception was a band that sort of took. I think they were in the 70s. It took that and Focus, sort of definitely classical influence, and Yes, and progressive bands like that. So even if you don't listen overtly to classical music, you're kind of getting it through those bands. But yeah, big classical vibes. Something really cool in the guitar playing and the riffing was the sort of the hammer on and pull offs in the riffs. There was some really, really subtle, very, very gently played, sort of just catching sort of like a fifth or a seventh fret, just and not picking it, and it's getting this real subtle effect of this sort of galloping. That probably sounds horrendous, like, but that that kind of thing, like, done with the sort of the hammer on and pull offs, But yeah, so there you go. That's initial impressions. I really liked it. Thought it was cool. Great solo as well. Right, so let's go back and have a bit of a deeper chat about it. Please consider taking a moment to check out my other channel, JW Soundworks, where you will find unique cover song performances. Newly composed piano arrangements. And all of my self-composed original music. This is a random one, like, but there's something about the sound of that introduction reminds me of a Daft Punk song. I'm not a big Daft Punk fan, so I can't remember what the name of the song is even. I would need to find it and look for it in post. But does anybody else hear that? Do you know the song I'm talking about? It starts exactly like that. You know, similar, well, say exactly like that. It starts with this sort of effect coming in before the whole thing drops in. Something about the sound of that. It's very similar. That chord there, that's Muse. That's a big. I think of that was like a Muse chord. Which, if it's a Muse chord, it's a Rachmaninoff chord because they stole a lot of their stuff from Rachmaninoff. Did I say that? Sorry, but yeah, I did. So we're in G sharp minor or A flat minor. What way we're going to pick this? If we're in G sharp minor, we're going to be dealing with F double sharps. We might have to go A flat minor. This is not a very piano-friendly key to be in. If I was playing the guitar, I could just go with 2nd fret, 4th fret, you know. But, so, no. Yeah. That's the first part anyway. Let's see what does go after that. The bass is really strange there what it's doing because you can hear it moving up the scale. But it doesn't stay on that. It kind of starts to drift back down. You know, I don't know whether the bassist is on a bend there and he's doing something there is very unusual. Because the harmony's moving up. It's very classical, that. So, I mean, if it's moving up from that, say over an A flat minor, it might be easier to think of that. That could be an E flat. E flat 7. The bass note's a B flat. Is that? But like I say, if you listen closely to the bottom note, it doesn't just stay on that. So let's see, what have we got so far? Something like that. Let's see, wait to get to the Muse chord. That one might get me. Here, drifting down. Brilliant. The drummer's really creative in this band. Like, you know, it's hard to not just pay attention to the drummer because he's doing so many cool things. Well, that note's in the chord, but what is this chord? It can't be as easy as that. There's another note in there somewhere. Maybe it is just that. Might just be that. It's a B flat over a D. Why am I looking for that? It's just an E flat. Stupid. Yeah, it says. waiting on Matt Bellamy to come in and scream over the top of that. The Terminator vibe going on there. Dun, 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 dun. Polyrhythmic stuff on the cymbals. I noticed that as well going through the first time. You know, I'm a big fan of that. So you can hear there's sort of divisions of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But if you listen to the hi-hat. Yeah, so the hi-hat is kind of doing this thing where it's on the 1, the 2, and the 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. I think that's what it's doing. I think that's it. Very creative drumming. Got like a D flat minor there, or C sharp minor, depending on what key we're in. You give me a nightmare, one of a key. It's a flipping nightmare to work out on the piano. C flat. So I think I've got that. Yeah. This is one of the things, not to take anything away from the band whatsoever, but see when you're, because I play guitar as well, like when you're drop tuned and stuff like that on the guitar, I find a lot of the time if you're playing in, say, a key like that, it's going to be probably your open note. And so you're so used on the guitar to sort of riffing in the keys of like E, A, and D. And then, of course, you can just drop tune your guitar. So you could, instead of you would play these notes, say, which would be open 12, open 14, open 15. Dum ba dum ba dum ba. But then if you drop it down, then you've got detune it. You're literally on the guitar, you're playing literally the same thing every time, but just because you're bringing the tuning down, it's in a different key. The piano, you can't just, well, maybe if you were cheating, you can maybe just hit the transpose button there and learn everything in the same key, and you just press transpose and you're in a different key. But that's something that's a wee bit tricky on the piano. You actually have to learn all the keys to be able to go, and that's not a key that's commonly used whatsoever. G sharp minor, and I teach classical piano, so now and again you'll get something like that, but it's really rare. Or A flat minor. It's, I don't know how many percent of the time you get to play on that sort of key. There's my excuses. Is one of the guitarists playing an Alexi Laiho signature at Flying V? I think he played at ESP, didn't he? Can't see it. Hang on. Oh no, it's not. It's got a different thing on the fret. Ah, you're so fast. I don't know. Whatever that symbol is. Maybe his signature does have something on the 12th fret like that. But... Cameraman doesn't want to show us the Flying V. Yeah, I don't know. It's maybe a stripe that's run along it. I don't think it actually is. Is it one of those old England solar guitars? They've got like a sort of strange pattern around the 12th fret. And the white one, I think, is that a... I haven't even tried to work that out. The white guitar, is it a Schecter? Could be an ESP as well. The camera work is like an epileptic seizure, you know. It's so difficult to get a view of it. It's not even half a second and it's on to something else. Yeah, I think this might be a fool's errand to try and detect anything that's going on there, because it's just like a series of photographs, isn't it? It's weird, you know, because you think of the experience of watching a video. When you're listening to it and you're watching it, all the images sort of fly by you, and it's, you know, you get the vibe. But when you're actually trying to find something, you're like, I've seen something in there and you're trying to find it. It's impossible. Especially because they're using the out of focus thing as well. So much of it's out of focus and in focus, out of focus. So you can hear the vocals are definitely layered. There's like a higher pitch coming through and a lower pitch underneath it to support it. Obviously, it's giving it a sort of wider range. Yeah. So she hasn't performed it, you know, 2 or 3 times in a way that's the same. She'll have gone through, I'm not a metal singer, but if you think of like, you know, record each performance at different pitches, put them all together, and then you get this sort of real demonic kind of thick textured voice. Last beat. Drummer is amazing. That's the bit I was talking about. It's very delicate. You hear the shifts also in the sort of in the meter. 4, 5, 6. Actually, something that sort of strikes me as being cool is a sort of, you know, the guitarists sort of mixing between the very sort of intricate riffing and then taking a moment like that to strum, you know, da 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 da, because, you know, when the guitars are constantly busy and then you've got the vocal and then you've got a very busy drum part and stuff like that, your ear kind of gets pulled in sort of multiple different directions at once, which is cool. Nothing wrong with that. But I think if you want to highlight a particular instrument, like the vocal, sound through there, making those other instruments sort of blend a little bit more, take the busyness out of them slightly, it enhances the lead vocal. So I think that's a decision, a good decision. Not only does it do that, but it also means that whenever the riffing, the technical stuff comes back in, you're kind of glad to see it again. You know, so it's it gives you more sort of dynamicism, contrast. I think I mentioned Opeth earlier on at the start. I think this is the best riff in the song, at least so far. This is really nasty, really groovy. The reason why I say Opeth again there, just to clarify, is Michael is the GOAT of sort of death metal groovy riffs. A guy, I think anybody writes a better riff than Michael Ackerfeld. Well, in the past, I don't know so much about the last few years. Don't come after me. Still Life, Blackwater Park, My Arms Your Hearse. That's that's all the good stuff. Even Deliverance and Ghost Reveries and stuff like that. But yeah, don't know about the whole 70s prog thing, Anyway. Here we go. Cool riff. Harmony guitar counterpart. Yeah, so you hear the use of the harmonics. I'm going to try and emulate a harmonic. I would normally play the guitar to show these parts, guys, but I do have a bad arm. Fell out of a tree. I'm still alive, but I've got a very, very sore arm. I had a good reason for being up the tree. It's a story for another time. You notice actually that they've been very careful and how they've decided with the harmonics. If you take the 3 note choices, I think they form the chord, don't they? Of course, I'm going to have to work it out now. I think that's the first one. That's the second one. That's the third one. Must be that. Which forms the E flat major chord we talked about before. I think I definitely heard that one. It's just cool. It's just cool. And no choices on the harmonics. I think a lot of the time when people use harmonics, they use them in a very dissonant way. Just to get like a glitchy kind of high-pitched noise that doesn't really tie in so much harmonically with what's going on. It's just sort of like a glitchy kind of effect. But you can hear they've used the harmony there actually in a very melodic way. It's linked to what's going on in the riffing. So do you hear how much is going on with the left hand? You can hear the pick attack, dun, 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 dun. So the right hand is only providing some of those notes. So you can't see it in the video because the left hand is out of shot. Of course it is. But when you can even watch probably the right hand, you'll hear it sound. The right hand's only providing some of that, and then you're getting the rest of it with sort of hammer on and pull offs on the left hand. I like that. Because even within that, it's very nuanced in how it's played. It's not just full on, which would be more of a sort of Meshuggah vibe, you know. Dun, 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 dun. This bit reminded me a little bit of Tool for some reason. Not this bit, just that last bit. Okay, right, so we're about to go into I think the solo here. I'm just going to check my camera time so I don't get cut off. You know, these SLRs only let you to record for 25 minutes or something like that, and then it just cuts off, and there's no timer on the screen, so I don't want to do that. I get cut off before where I'm sitting talking, and I look at the footage back and realize, oh, the camera stopped. Anyway, so let's pick it up. You can hear harmonies. That's unusual, yeah. You hear that? It's gonna be hard to do that. I can't really do it in the piano. So whatever that riff is, okay, it's a pedal note of this. So you get this. Hear how dissonant that is with the left hand not having moved. Real clash there, I love that. This here? No, you can tell because of the sort of modern day, it's quite compressed, and it's all very in your face. But see if you'd have just dropped that little section there to me and given me the video. I'll play it again, this bit. It's put me in mind of like Dissection or something like that, you know, from like the 90s. Jesus Christ. 1 second, guys. Kubrick, please stop that. Kubrick. Whew. Pretty sure that has taken a few years off my life, that. Yeah, it's one thing having a huge dog barking behind you, but when it bleeds in through your microphone, goes right directly into your ear holes, scares the absolute bejesus out of you. It's almost like a different singer there. That's really creepy, that tone she's going for. Also, you know, I was saying to you about the black metal thing versus the death metal. I feel like this does border both, you know, it crosses over. But there's so much about the vocal performance and the blast beats. The blast beats are done in the sort of traditional black metal style rather than the, the Cannibal Corpse, everything together. Extra points for getting a wah-wah solo in on a brutal death / black metal song. Kudos, well done. I have to say I enjoyed that sort of dual guitar solo there and trading off. It doesn't go back and forth. It's just one, one and then the other. But even that, like that's an In Flames thing. Soilwork at the Gates, maybe less. So actually, they're not big on solos. Sure, they're not. But all that kind of stuff comes from like Iron Maiden and Thin Lizzy, and bands that traditionally have 2 or 3 guitarists that they take it in turns. But anyway, they didn't just go right. Let's show off. Lots of big bands, lots of feel. So yeah, despite it being very technical music, especially with the drumming, and all the riffing, I think it's very easy for a band of this sort of style to do a Kerry King style solo. Not to say there's anything wrong with Kerry King. I love me some Slayer. I have many happy years as a teenage young boy, with the Slayer stuff, and I've seen Slayer before. But the solos, not a huge Slayer fan of solo Slayer solo. Yeah, that's not easy for me to say. The riffs and the grooves and all the rest of it, brilliant. Solos, not so much. Very easy to get carried away and just go, and it's just not my preference. It's cool and all the rest of it, and you've got skills, but I actually really like the fact that there's something very melodic going on in the solos. Contributes to the song. And then the final note, right, ties us back in. That was the Lacuna Coil part I was saying to you. Now the music's a lot heavier here than what I remember, and I haven't listened to Lacuna Coil in years, so I'm not sure if what they're doing these days. But certainly back then, definitely had more of a sort of gothy kind of, dare I say, sort of bordering on emo at the time. It wasn't so much on it wasn't quite as heavy as this. But the vocals there were very similar to something off maybe like Unleashed Memories, or even was it In a Reverie? Was that one of their albums? Yeah. Yeah, so that whole outro section is, it's very full on. It's like full tilt climax of everything, but they still managed to make that quite dynamic. You know what I mean? Even whenever they reach this sort of real intensity of everything, sort of like right in your face. That last part is still sort of playing around with the fact that it's very heavy, but pulling elements out and giving us a little bit of space. So yeah, this band, very talented, lots of stuff going on. Thanks for the request. Jamie. Always know how to pick them. So if you enjoyed this, folks, please do like and subscribe, and hopefully see you again sometime. If you're passionate about piano, whether as a player or listener, or if you're considering online lessons or masterclasses, please visit my YouTube channel, JW Piano Works. There you'll discover a wealth of piano performances, with many more to come. Based on demand, I'll also be introducing video tutorials for piano pieces. Thank you.